Welcome back to the Sports Source. The segment brought to you by Games and Things. If you want to build a perfect man cave or theater room, you're going to need home theater seats. And no one in East Tennessee has a wider selection than Games and Things. Different styles, different amenities, some standard, some right off the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Visit Games and Things and see for yourself. Or check out ourgameroom.com because life should be fun. Okay, we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to start with Jimmy. A few weeks ago, we were talking about when are they going to make a move in the portal? What's going on with Tennessee? Who's going, who's coming? And you made the comment, which I think is, I'm not pointing a finger at you. You made a comment that I agreed with, that I think most people would, and that is, well, Barnes knows. We just don't know. I'm now wondering, he didn't know this. I mean, look at it. He didn't know that Josiah Jordan-James was going to come back. I don't know that he knew Vescovi was coming back. Then he goes and gets 3 guys. He thought that Kamwa was going to go pro, and he wound up not even taking a pro route in Europe or something and going to Michigan. My question is, with NIL in the portal, can we still think that coaches know what's going on? Do they even know? Rick Barnes has been around forever. If anybody's going to know his roster, it's Rick Barnes. And you look at this week, I just don't know how these guys do it. Do you think we've reached a point where even they are throwing up their hands like, I don't know how to build a roster, or am I just reading too much into one instance?
Oh, they know until they don't. No, I think it is harder to figure out what the roster is going to look like. I mean, it is harder to figure out when somebody's going to enter the transfer portal. I think there are cases where they have a really good idea, and there are cases where they get surprised. So, no, I think it's harder on them. I think they get caught off guard more now than they ever did because of the portal, because of potential NBA, because of the NIL. There are a lot of factors that play right now that make it harder for a coach to settle in on his roster until about August 15th.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Rick Barnes, you had this Ledlam kid on campus for, what, 6 weeks? Most?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before on the show. I always bring it up. It sticks out to me. Roy Williams got out. Mike Krzyzewski got out. Jay Wright got out as the youngest guy. Tom Izzo and Rick Barnes, and Izzo complains about this stuff constantly. Izzo and Barnes are that old school guy. They've been around a long time. I'm surprised, Chuck, that it shows you they still love basketball and work with kids, because if I were in Rick Barnes' shoes and already had millions, I would be looking at it thinking, I don't need this crap. I'm out.
I've had enough of this, and it's too easy for the kids to do the portal, right?
It's the total flip. It went from we got to help the kids to now it's just I've been here a day. I don't like it. I'm going back to it's crazy.
And it seemed like in football, it seemed like the quarterback was unhappy with his playing time. He was out of here. But now you're not even waiting for playing time. You're looking and you're seeing, now I can go here and I'm better off
and make X.
And it's just too easy to do to me. And the coach has no power over that now.
David Ubben, if he were here, would be screaming, it's never too easy on the kids. The kids deserve all. They should be free.
That's why he's not here.
That's right. I'm somewhere in the middle on that I'm all for making it better for the athletes. At the same time, you've turned the entire model on its head, and now it's just kind of anarchy, it seems to me. Josh, do you think we've reached a time that coaches really just don't even know their own roster anymore? Or was this just a bad offseason for UT?
Some years will be worse than others, but yes, I think that's in general true during the offseason and in season, because you're recruiting your own roster, your own players, knowing that other schools, through some outlet, are reaching out through back channels. Like, hey, at the end of the season, things aren't going the way you want, you can come over here. Now, if other schools are doing that, your own schools might be doing that at times through other people. So you can also argue, well, it goes both ways, and that is partly true. What I do think is at some point down the line, as we're talking about realignment being a part of this with the power conferences, there will be rule changes, and there's the long-term unionization conversation. At some point, something will have to give. I don't know when that will happen.
And the NCAA continues to talk about tightening the windows for the transfer portal to make them smaller and smaller, which may be the only fair thing to do.
Maybe we're looking at a Ledlam rule in a year or two.
Right. Well, I mean,
Tennessee's had that happen a few times.
Yeah, it lets the kid move, but at the same time, once you're in place somewhere for X amount of weeks, you can't just say, I think I'm going to transfer again.
Right.
I don't envy Rick Barnes having to build a roster like that, or Tony Vitello or anybody else. In football, it's not so bad because you got 85 guys. In most cases, you're not going to see 70 of them leave. But Lord, in baseball and basketball, you can lose half your team.
Yeah.
So, all right. When we come back, what a week it's been. We haven't even had a chance to talk about the fact that SEC Media Days coming up in Nashville. So what are we looking forward to? What are we anxious to hear, to see? What are the stories we expect to come out of Nashville and SEC Media Days? Come on back on the Sports Source.